The Kisari collective had lived in peace for almost 400 years. Their worlds were calm, their cities soft and glowing, and their people gentle in nature. They believed the universe was kind because they had never seen anything else. Their history held no wars, no enemies, and no great dangers, only learning, music, and harmony. So, when the first signs of the cosmic anomaly appeared, the Kisari did not understand what to do. The strange region of space began as a small shimmer far beyond their borders, a place where energy behaved strangely. At first, it looked harmless, like a faint glow in the void. But soon it expanded, spreading silently toward their nearest colony world. The Kisari scientists examined it with great care. They sent out probes, light beams, and long-range study drones. But everything sent into the glowing region simply vanished. Not destroyed, not broken, just gone, as if it had never existed at all. The Kisari had no word for fear in their language, but for the first time in their history, they created one, Tiresh. It meant the feeling when the universe stops making sense, and the people felt Tiresh in their bones. As the anomaly grew, the Kisari Council gathered to discuss what could be done. The council was a peaceful group of thinkers. They were not used to crisis. Their meetings normally focused on new education programs or sharing art between colonies. Now their chambers were filled with worried whispers and trembling hands. Chairkeeper Solani, the eldest among them, stood at the center of the hall, her silver skin dim with stress. "The anomaly will reach Veshtal within 3 cycles," she said quietly. "If we cannot slow it, the world will fall." The other council members looked down. They all knew Veshtal. It was a peaceful world full of ocean farms and growing families. Losing it would break the heart of the collective. "What options do we have?" asked a young counselor named Ivaris. "We have tried every idea we know," Solani admitted. "We do not understand this phenomenon. It dissolves energy fields. It absorbs our signals. It erases anything that comes near it. We cannot contain it. We cannot redirect it. We cannot destroy it." Her words echoed through the chamber. For the first time in generations, the Kisari collective felt truly helpless. "We must call for help," Ivaris said. His voice shook, but his eyes were steady. "There are many civilizations greater than ours. Perhaps one of them knows what this thing is." Solani hesitated. The Kisari had always been careful about contacting other species. They valued privacy and calm. Many of the more advanced civilizations were known to be aggressive or unpredictable. The galaxy was not always a gentle place, but the anomaly did not care about caution. "We will send a distress signal," Solani agreed. "We will ask anyone who can hear us, and we will hope someone answers." The Kisari engineers built a powerful beacon near the border of their space. It was an elegant structure of crystal plates and soft blue lights. When activated, it sent out a repeating message across the galaxy. "This is the Kisari Collective. We request assistance. Our worlds face a cosmic danger. We seek peaceful help from any who are willing." The message carried their coordinates, their scientific data, and a simple plea. "Please help us. We do not want to be alone in this." Days passed, then weeks, then months. The anomaly continued to grow. The Kisari checked the beacon every morning, hoping for a reply. Some woke early just to be the first to look. Others waited in quiet meditation, afraid of the silence. Then one evening, something changed. At first, the beacon's monitor only flickered just a tiny shift in the signal strength. A glitch, perhaps. But the engineers checked again, and the flicker grew stronger. "A response," one whispered. "Someone is trying to connect." The council rushed to the beacon tower. The whole city gathered outside, holding each other's hands, waiting for the unknown voice. The signal came through slowly, breaking and reforming as it traveled across vast distances. The translation crystals glowed bright, struggling to interpret the sender's language. Finally, a message appeared on the main screen. 3 words, in a tongue unlike any spoken in the galaxy. "Humanity," we answer. A shiver ran through the crowd. The Kisari had heard stories about humans. Most species avoided Earth. Humans were known to be emotional, unpredictable, and strangely fearless. Some called them reckless. Others called them stubborn. A few, especially the more delicate civilizations, called them monsters not because humans were violent, but because they were impossible to understand. They pushed boundaries. They tried things others would never dare. They leaped before they looked. They ran toward danger while others ran away. To the Kisari, who valued calm and peace, humans were frightening in their intensity. Solani felt her pulse race as she looked at the screen. She was old enough to remember ancient warnings. If ever you meet a human, tread carefully. They are kind, but they are wild. She turned to Avaris. Are we ready to speak to them? We asked for help, he reminded her softly. Perhaps they are the only ones who heard. The screen flashed again. More text appeared. We received your data. We understand your danger. Our ships are preparing. We will arrive in 6 cycles. The hall fell into stunned silence. No questions. No hesitation. No demands for payment or contracts. The humans simply said they were coming. A soft murmur swept through the crowd. Are they serious? Will they really cross the galaxy for us? Why would they do that? Solani felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest, a warm, trembling feeling that was not fear. It was something the humans often spoke of, something the Kisari rarely needed: hope. While the council reviewed the human message, the Kisari scientists hurried to collect every piece of data about the anomaly, preparing to share it when the humans arrived. Despite their fear, they also felt a strange curiosity. What would humans be like in person? Would they shout? Would they smile too widely, like the stories said? Would they truly risk their lives for strangers? Across the collective, people began watching old human broadcasts and documentaries. They studied their history and their strange habits. They learned about human celebrations, human music, human cities full of noise and light. One Kisari child asked her mother, "Why do they laugh so loudly?" Her mother answered, "Maybe because they do not fear being heard." Another asked, "Why do they always rush everywhere?" Her teacher said, "Because they never want to miss a chance to help someone." As the days passed, the Kisari view of humanity began to shift. The fear softened. The curiosity grew. And slowly, the idea of humans as monsters faded into something new, a species that did not ignore a cry for help. On the morning of the 6th cycle, every Kisari world tuned their networks to the beacon channel. Solani stood on the balcony of the high chamber with the council beside her. Children sat on the edges of glowing walkways. Families gathered under the shade trees. The sky was quiet, then the stars rippled. A tunnel of light opened above the planet, smooth, bright, controlled. Not a weapon, not a threat, a doorway. A human expedition ship emerged, its hull shining with gentle blue lights instead of harsh colors. It moved slowly, respectfully, as if worried about startling its hosts. A message appeared on every screen at once. "We are humanity. We heard your call. We come with open hands." And across the Kisari collective, the people looked up with wide eyes and trembling hearts. The monsters of Earth had arrived, but not to harm, to help. The human ship drifted gently into orbit above the Kisari homeworld, its smooth silver hull catching the light of the twin suns. To the Kisari watching from below, it looked both strange and beautiful, like a giant metal whale that swam through the sky instead of the sea. For a long moment, no one spoke. Every Kisari across every colony felt the same quiet wonder. They had heard so many stories about humans, most of them frightening or confusing, yet seeing the ship in the sky felt different. It did not look dangerous. It did not look wild. It simply looked capable. Chairkeeper Solani stood on the balcony of the high chamber, staring up with a careful mix of hope and worry. Beside her, Ivaris held a small communication crystal, waiting for the first direct message. The crystal warmed in his hand. A calm voice spoke. "We request permission to land." The tone was polite, steady, and nothing like the deep, aggressive voices shown in the dramatized human documentaries the Kisari had watched out of fear. Solani took a breath. "We grant permission. Please land at the Central Plains. Our people will welcome you there." "Thank you," the human voice answered. "We will approach slowly. The crystal dimmed. Solani turned to the gathered council. "This is the moment," she whispered. "Whatever happens next, it will shape the future." The central plains were wide-open fields of soft silver grass. Thousands of Kisari stood there, waiting with a mixture of curiosity and nervousness. They wore their traditional flowing garments, light-colored and decorated with gentle patterns. The elders sat in the front, their skin shimmering with faint blue light. A low hum grew in the sky. The human ship descended through the clouds, its engines barely making a sound. "Advanced technology," the scientists whispered. "Precise, respectful landing protocols," the engineers murmured. The children clung to their parents, but kept their eyes wide open. The ship touched the ground gently, like a bird settling on a branch. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then a door slid open. A ramp extended. The Kisari held their breath. 3 humans stepped out first. They wore sleek white exosuits with glowing strips that pulsed calmly. Their helmets were translucent, showing their faces clearly, a gesture of trust. The Kisari later realized. Behind them came several more humans, some wearing tool belts, others carrying scanner devices. At the center was a tall woman with warm brown skin and bright eyes that seemed to take in everything around her in seconds. Her suit had a blue stripe along the arms, marking her as someone of importance. She stepped forward and placed a hand over her heart, an old human gesture of greeting. "I am Dr. Elena Reyes," she said, "Mission Commander of the Earth Outreach Division. We come in peace, and we are here to help." The translator crystals repeated her words in soft Kisari tones. For a moment, the crowd simply stared. Then Solani stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. "I am Chairkeeper Solani," she said. "Welcome to the Kisari Collective. We are honored that you came." Dr. Reyes smiled, not a wide or strange smile, but a gentle one meant to reassure. The Kisari noticed how her eyes softened, how her shoulders relaxed. She bowed her head respectfully. "We heard your message," she said. "And we never ignore a call for help," the crowd murmured. Not in fear this time, but in surprised admiration. The humans set up their equipment quickly but carefully. They moved with steady purpose but always checked with the Kisari before touching anything unfamiliar. It was clear they took great care to avoid disrespect. One Kisari scientist, Van L., watched closely from behind a row of instruments. He expected humans to be loud, chaotic, maybe even rude, like the stories suggested. But the humans worked quietly, speaking to each other in soft, focused voices. Anchor set, field stabilizer calibrated, recording environmental readings. Everything was controlled and thoughtful. Dr. Reyes approached Vanel and bowed slightly. "May we have your latest scan data? It will help us understand the anomaly." Vanel blinked in surprise. "You want our data?" "Of course," she replied. "This is your space. You understand it better than we do. We are here to learn from you." No one had expected humans to say such a thing. No arrogance. No demands. Only cooperation. Vanel handed her the data crystal with trembling hands. "Thank you, Dr. Reyes." She smiled again, a warm and reassuring expression. "Thank you for trusting us." As the hours passed, more humans emerged from the ship, engineers, scientists, and even a few cultural specialists. The Kisari learned their names, their roles, and their habits. One engineer named Harris knelt in the silver grass, scanning the soil and humming a cheerful tune. When a Kisari child approached curiously, Harris looked up and waved with a friendly grin. "Hey there," he said in soft English before the translator crystal echoed it in Kisari. "Want to see something cool?" The child glanced at her mother, who hesitated only a moment before nodding. Harris held out a small device that made tiny floating lights dance above his palm. The child gasped in delight, her eyes sparkling. Nearby, another human, Dr. Senka, was discussing theoretical physics with a group of Kisari scholars. Their gestures were animated, and the Kisari were astonished at how humans turned every complex idea into simple, creative explanations. "They behave differently from what we were told," one scholar whispered. "Yes," another nodded. "We expected chaos, and instead, the first scholar said slowly. We found kindness. But not everything was calm. Some older Kisari still feared humans and kept their distance. They whispered warnings. Be careful. Humans take risks. They might bring trouble. They act without thinking. They may make mistakes. They are unpredictable. Dr. Reyes seemed to sense this unease. So later in the day, she requested a meeting with the council. In the soft glow of the council chamber, she stood tall but respectful. I understand some of you are afraid, she said gently. It is normal. We are strangers. But I want you to know this. We did not come to control you. We did not come to teach you how to live. We came because you asked for help, and when someone asks us for help... She paused, then spoke with quiet strength. Humans do not walk away. Solani studied her carefully. Forgive me, she said, but your reputation in the galaxy is... unusual. Dr. Reyes let out a small laugh. I have heard the stories. Humans are loud, wild, emotional, reckless. Monsters, even. The council shifted uncomfortably. But, she continued softly, perhaps people call us monsters because we are not afraid of doing hard things. We take risks to save others. We push boundaries because we cannot accept losing lives when we might prevent it. That can look frightening from the outside. So the stories are true? Ivaris asked. You really face danger so easily? Dr. Reyes shook her head. No. We feel fear. We get scared just like anyone else. The difference is, we don't let fear stop us. Her words hung in the air like warm light. Solani placed her hand over her heart, the Kisari gesture of deep respect. I think, she said softly, that your kind of bravery is something our people have never seen. Dr. Reyes bowed. Then let us show it to you. That evening, the humans began analyzing the anomaly with the Kisari scientists. The two species worked side by side, comparing theories and building models. The humans were fast thinkers, always suggesting ideas, always adjusting, always trying again when something failed. But what impressed the Kisari most was their attitude toward mistakes. When a calculation was wrong, humans laughed lightly and said, okay, let's fix it. When a model collapsed, they said, no problem, we'll try another angle. To the Kisari who viewed mistakes as shameful, this was shocking. How do you stay calm when things fail? Vanel asked Harris. Harris shrugged with a smile. Simple. Failure just means we're learning. The Kisari were stunned by this idea. Failure as learning? Not disgrace? Not something to hide? Humans saw the universe in a way the Kisari had never considered. As night spread across the plains, the humans set up lights around their workstations. The glow was warm and golden, casting gentle shadows across the grass. Solani watched them from a distance. She saw how the humans moved with purpose but not aggression, how they treated her people with respect, and how their determination seemed to shine brighter than their machines. These humans, she whispered, are not monsters. Ivaris stood beside her, his eyes reflecting the lights. No, he said softly. They might be something far more powerful. Solani looked at him curiously. What do you mean? They are people, he said, who refuse to give up on anyone. Solani felt a strange warmth in her chest, a feeling that had grown since the humans arrived, a feeling she had not known in many years. Hope. By the time the twin moons rose high in the sky, the humans had already built the first prototype device meant to measure the anomaly's core energy. Dr. Reyes stood with her team, explaining the plan to the Kisari scientists with patient clarity. We will test this tomorrow, she said. And then we will make a plan together. She looked at Solani and added, you are not alone anymore. And for the first time since the anomaly had appeared, the Kisari believed it. Humanity had arrived, not as monsters, not as conquerors, but as allies fearless, brilliant, and impossible to ignore. The monsters of Earth had revealed themselves, and they were nothing like the stories told. The days after the humans' arrival felt like a strange kind of dream. To the Kisari, it seemed impossible that their peaceful worlds that had never known conflict, were now working alongside these humans, these so-called monsters. But with each passing hour, something unexpected happened. The Kisari were starting to understand. The anomaly that threatened to erase their homes was still growing. Slowly but steadily. No one had the exact answer yet, but the humans weren't afraid. They worked tirelessly. And every idea, no matter how small, was greeted with the same enthusiasm. The Kisari had expected humans to come with grand, complex machines that would solve the problem immediately. But the humans didn't bring any of that. Instead, they brought something much simpler ideas. One morning, Dr. Reyes called the council for a meeting. They gathered in the high chambers, where the walls were decorated with soft, glowing patterns. It was a place of peace, of listening. This time, however, the air was charged with quiet anticipation. "We've been studying the anomaly," Dr. Reyes said, "and we've come to a conclusion." The council leaned forward, eager for answers. Dr. Reyes looked around the room, as though she were sharing something deeply important. The anomaly is a disruption. It's not a force we can fight with weapons. It's more like a disease, spreading through the fabric of space. To stop it, we need to heal it. The room fell silent. Healing? The Kisari had never thought of the anomaly that way. "Why didn't we see this before?" Solani asked, her voice calm but full of curiosity. "The anomaly seems so chaotic. How can we heal something like that?" "It's a good question," Dr. Reyes admitted. "We thought we could reverse it with force, some kind of shield or barrier. But we learned the hard way that the anomaly doesn't respond to strength. It reacts to patterns. It disrupts the flow of energy because it doesn't recognize the rhythm of natural space." "But what if we create a new pattern?" The room grew quiet. The Kisari scientists exchanged glances. "A new pattern?" Vanel asked slowly. "Could it really work?" "We won't know until we try," Dr. Reyes said with a smile. "But that's what we're here for. We've been testing new designs. If we can create a pattern that the anomaly recognizes something, it can understand, it might stop growing." The Kisari thought about it. They had always believed in quiet precision. They had never thought of fighting a force of nature with creativity and improvisation. "What do we need to do?" Solani asked, her voice suddenly filled with hope. "We need to work together," Dr. Reyes replied. "We need to bring the best of both our worlds together. Your knowledge of the anomaly's behavior and our ability to think outside the box. Together, we can build something that disrupts the anomaly's growth." It sounded simple, but the idea was so different from anything the Kisari had known. Their entire civilization had been built on avoiding conflict, on finding solutions that avoided change. But humans, they embraced change. They didn't just avoid danger, they found ways to work through it. And in that moment, Solani understood. The humans had a different kind of power. Not brute force. Not perfect precision. They had imagination. They had the ability to see things that weren't there yet, and build them into reality. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Humans and Kisari worked side by side, each group bringing their own strengths to the table. The humans would suggest a solution, something crazy, something never tried before, and the Kisari would refine it, testing it with their deep knowledge of how the anomaly worked. "We have to build a lattice of energy beams," Dr. Reyes said one day, "that surrounds the anomaly and creates a counter-frequency. A pattern that the anomaly will understand." "You want us to create a lattices of energy?" Vanel asked, his tone skeptical. "Yes, Doctor," Reyes replied with a grin. "It might sound crazy, but think of it this way. If we can introduce a pattern that the anomaly recognizes, it will stop growing. It might even shrink back." The Kisari were quiet for a moment. They had always known that the universe was filled with patterns, mathematical rhythms, cosmic beats that connected everything from the smallest atom to the largest star. But they had never thought of using these rhythms as a weapon. "You are suggesting we fight chaos with order?" Solani asked. Dr. Reyes nodded. "Exactly." Over the next few days, the Kisari and the humans worked day and night to design the lattice. The humans brought their energy fields and their creative problem-solving. The Kisari brought their understanding of how energy flows through space, how to anchor the beams in place, and how to build with precision. The process was slow at first. The anomaly was powerful, unpredictable, and its influence stretched across the galaxy. The first designs failed. The second ones, too. But the humans never gave up. They laughed at their mistakes, they changed their approach, and then they tried again. Every time something didn't work, Dr. Reyes would stand up and say, "Okay, what did we learn from this?" And the Kisari would share what they had learned. Together, they would change the design and try once more. And finally, after days of testing, they had a breakthrough. "We've done it," Dr. Reyes said, her voice full of excitement. "We've built the first test model. It's small, but it might be enough to see if the lattice can disrupt the anomaly's expansion." The Kisari scientists crowded around, eager to see the design in action. The first test was set up on the outskirts of Veshtal, the world closest to the anomaly. The small lattice was carefully anchored in place, the energy beams pulsing softly. The scientists held their breath as they powered it up. The anomaly continued to grow, its swirling energy encroaching on Veshtal. But as the lattice activated, the energy began to shift. The lights of the anomaly wavered. It was as if the chaotic force was hesitating. For a long moment, nothing happened. And then, the anomaly's expansion slowed. The Kisari gasped. It was working. The energy beams were creating a new pattern. The anomaly's chaotic growth was stalling. "We did it," Vanel exclaimed, a rare smile spreading across his face. Dr. Reyes looked at the lattice in wonder. "It's not perfect, but it's a start." And for the first time since the crisis began, the Kisari allowed themselves to feel something they had not felt in a long time. Hope. But even as the humans and Kisari celebrated their success, Solani knew that this was only the first step. The anomaly was still out there. Still growing. They would need to refine the lattice, make it stronger, more powerful. "We can do this," Solani said softly to herself, watching the humans cheer. "We are not alone." And for the first time, the idea didn't seem impossible. In the following days, the lattice grew more advanced. The humans continued to work with the Kisari, combining their creative energy with the Kisari's scientific precision. Together, they made adjustments, tuning the system until it became more effective. Soon, the anomaly began to shrink. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, but it was shrinking. The chaos was being driven back. It was still a long road ahead. But now, the Kisari believed it could be done. They had found not only a solution but a new way to work together. A new way to think, and in the end, that might be the greatest gift the humans had given them. As the sun set on Veshtal, the first waves of peace settled over the planet. The humans were still working, but they were also laughing, talking, sharing stories with the Kisari. The two species had learned to trust one another, to rely on each other's strengths. In the vastness of space, they had found a bond that was stronger than any anomaly. Solani watched as Dr. Reyes looked up at the sky, her face filled with quiet determination. "You've helped us," Solani said, her voice full of awe. "And you've taught us how to help each other." Dr. Reyes smiled, her eyes bright with the kind of confidence that only comes from facing the impossible and surviving. "Together," she said, "we can do anything." And for the first time in a long time, Solani truly believed it. The days had stretched into weeks, and the once unstoppable anomaly began to shrink. Little by little, the lattice of energy beams they had created, a fusion of human creativity and Kisari precision, was working. It was slow, painstaking, but it was working. Every morning, Solani stood at the high chamber balcony, looking out at the horizon where Veshtal's oceans met the sky. The anomaly was still visible, a faint, shifting light on the edge of the world, but it was no longer growing. The lattice was holding. The human team worked tirelessly. Every day, they added improvements. Each adjustment was made with the same enthusiasm and optimism that had first arrived with them. Their laughter filled the air, a stark contrast to the fear that had plagued the Kisari in the early days. Dr. Reyes was at the center of it all. She had become a symbol not just of human ingenuity, but of something even more important: relentless hope. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Solani joined Dr. Reyes on the edge of the base camp. The sky was painted in shades of purple and orange, and the air was filled with the sounds of both species working together, exchanging ideas, and sharing stories. "How do you stay so positive?" Solani asked, watching the human commander carefully. "Even when the anomaly seemed like it would consume everything, you never wavered." Dr. Reyes smiled, her eyes soft and thoughtful. "We have no other choice but to keep going, Solani. When someone asks us for help, we can't walk away. It's not who we are." Solani turned to look at the horizon. She had never fully understood humanity's relentless pursuit of answers, their constant push forward, no matter the risk. Now, standing beside Dr. Reyes, it was starting to make sense. "We've learned so much from you," Solani said quietly. "Not just about the anomaly, but about the strength in refusing to give up." Dr. Reyes nodded. "It's not about being fearless. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when we are afraid." The two stood in silence for a moment, the soft hum of the lattice in the background. It felt as if the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for the final results. The next morning, the final test began. The humans and Kisari had perfected the lattice, tweaking it over and over until it was no longer just a pattern of energy but a living thing, something that responded to the anomaly as if it understood its very essence. The first step was to increase the energy output, making the lattice expand outward, pushing against the anomaly's edge. Dr. Reyes stood at the center of the operation, her fingers flying over the console as she coordinated the final adjustments. Solani watched closely from a distance. Her people had always believed in balance and control. The Kisari had never been quick to take risks, but here, now, with the fate of their worlds hanging in the balance, Solani felt something stir inside her, something she had not felt in many years. Hope. "Everything's in place," Dr. Reyes said, her voice steady. "We're ready." With a final command, the lattice surged to life, its energy beams glowing brighter than ever before. The anomaly responded immediately. It pulsed and writhed, as if trying to fight back against the encroaching pattern. The air around them felt charged, heavy with the weight of the moment. Solani felt her heart race as she watched the lattice push against the anomaly's force. It was a battle of wills, but this time, there was no destruction, no violence, only the quiet, determined effort to restore balance. Minutes passed, each one felt like an eternity. Finally, a ripple ran through the anomaly, and the pulsing light began to fade. Slowly, at first, then more rapidly. The lattice continued to press forward, creating an energy field that seemed to calm the chaos. Solani held her breath as she watched the anomaly shrink. The last of its chaotic light disappeared, leaving only stillness in its wake. "We did it," Vanel whispered, his voice filled with awe. "We did," Solani said, her voice shaky with emotion. For the first time since the anomaly had appeared, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. The humans had done it. The monsters of Earth had answered their call for help, and they had saved their world. That evening, after the lattice had fully neutralized the anomaly, the Kisari and humans gathered for a ceremony. It wasn't a grand event, but something simple and meaningful. The Kisari invited their human allies to join them in a celebration of life, one that honored both their peoples and the bond they had formed through shared struggle. Solani stood before the gathered crowd, her eyes scanning the faces of her people. Their expressions a mix of joy and disbelief. She cleared her throat and raised her hand to speak. "Today we stand together," she began, her voice full of pride. "We are no longer two separate peoples, but one, united by a common cause. We faced the impossible, and together, we found a way." The crowd murmured in agreement, and Solani turned her gaze to Dr. Reyes, who stood beside her. "I am proud to call you allies," Solani said. "And, more importantly, I am proud to call you friends." Dr. Reyes smiled, the warmth in her eyes unmistakable. "We didn't come here to be heroes," she said. "We came because you needed us. And when someone needs help, humans don't walk away." The crowd cheered, a wave of gratitude and appreciation filling the air. The humans stayed for several weeks after the anomaly had been neutralized, helping the Kisari rebuild and ensure the safety of their world. They worked together to set up monitoring systems, creating new ways to track potential threats in the future. But more than anything, the humans taught the Kisari something invaluable: how to trust in each other. As the humans prepared to depart, Solani met with Dr. Reyes one last time. "Will you return?" Solani asked, her voice filled with both hope and sadness. The humans had made such a difference, and now they were leaving. It was difficult to imagine life without them. Dr. Reyes placed a hand on Solani's shoulder. "We'll be back," she said with a smile. "When you need us. Whenever you need us." And with that promise, the human ship lifted off, leaving the Kisari world behind. But as the ship disappeared into the vastness of space, Solani knew one thing for certain. The bond between their two species was stronger than any distance. Weeks later, after the humans had gone, the Kisari celebrated a new kind of festival, a festival of gratitude. It wasn't just about the survival of their worlds, but about the connection they had made with the humans. It was a festival of hope, of shared strength, and of the knowledge that, in the universe, no one was truly alone. From that day on, whenever the Kisari sent out their messages into the stars, they knew there was one place they could always count on. One world, one species, who would never turn away: humanity, the monsters of Earth. And when anyone else asked for help, the Kisari could answer with pride, "We are not alone. The humans are here." As the years passed, Earth and the Kisari collective grew closer. The bond between them was built on something more than just shared history. It was built on the belief that no one, no matter how small or how far away, should ever be left to face the impossible alone. Humanity's monsters had shown the galaxy what true strength was: not the strength of weapons or power, but the strength to act with kindness, to refuse to give up, and to stand up for others, no matter the cost. And for that, the galaxy would never forget.